Aloha, everybody. It's another episode of Technically Speaking. Welcome to all my brothers and sisters in the geekhood, the nerd kingdom, the media techies, I guess. Yet another show, and I'm very, very, very excited. I haven't slept in about 48 hours just because I'm so excited about this episode. It's very near and dear to my heart. The theme, James, the theme. What is the theme today?
It is NDI, the game changer in broadcasting.
NDI, three little letters that's turning the broadcast industry on its head, making it spin. Its innovative technology is just changing everything, guys. And I hope you're interested. And if you haven't heard of it, well, tonight's your night. This is a night that I hope we are able to really educate you on network device interfacing. It's a new technology. But first, let's get a word from our sponsor.
Yes, this week's sponsor is Southwestern Assemblies of God University, located just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. They offer a program in digital media arts. Now, John, we're all looking to use cameras, lighting, audio better, and maybe if you're looking to go back to school or looking to attend school for the first time, SAGU might be the solution for you.
It's true.
Go to sagu.edu or 888-YES for yes, SAGU, SAGU.
We are thrilled and happy to be a part of the SAGU family. The small Christian university in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and we are sitting here in their studios tonight, as most nights, I guess. And we're just proud to be able to say we're a part of what they're doing for the kingdom of God in media technology, and even more ways. It's a lot of things going on. It's the whole gospel for the whole world is kind of the mantra, the motto here.
It's the mission.
But it's a great liberal arts education that you get with a very big emphasis on spiritual development. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of. And let me tell you just quickly that if you're listening to this show and you want to apply to SAGU, tonight's your night. We have acquired a code to get your application fee waived. The $45 application is on us. It's on Technically Speaking tonight. If you just put in the code word MEDIA, MEDIA, it will waive the $45 application fee.
Nice.
Just a little FYI there.
Yeah, just go to sagu.edu. It's right there on the front. Hit apply and get started.
Awesome. Thank you, SAGU. All right, now moving on to the theme of the day, NDI.
Yes.
The game changer. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not kidding about that. It is a game changer. Little history about us and our relationship with NDI. We knew about it. We just didn't know what it was for about last year this time. We knew it was coming down the pike. We are a new tech house. We own 4 TriCasters and a lot of their products, the live text and some of the other things. So we produce a lot of content every year through the new tech brand, through TriCaster.
Yeah.
And we had gotten the emails about upgrading, and sometimes you're just in your flow and you don't have time, you don't really pay attention, but they were really pounding us, look, you guys need to upgrade to NDI. And I didn't really take the time until maybe last summer to start investigating what is NDI. And by then it had been birthed, and it was more than an infant. It had grown into maybe a little toddler.
Yeah.
If you get my symbolism there. And in December, which is a down month for us here on this campus, we were able to upgrade our machines to the advanced software which is how you get NDI. Now,
Right.
everything that New Tech sells in their, you got to understand, we had bought our machines before
Yeah,
the
years
software,
before.
NDI was anything.
Yeah.
And now we had to upgrade. You can't even buy it without NDI infrastructure now.
Yeah.
So NDI is on everything. And so we had about a month before we started going back into full programming mode and to learn what NDI is and does for us. And it was amazing. It was absolutely, I spent the better part of our Christmas break, December, just ingesting the NDI knowledge and trying to understand. And I know so did you, James, learning, because we had to get up to speed because all our machines now are there, and we wanted to utilize the power. Well, we're here today to talk about the power, but we have a special guest. As always, via Skype, a special guest rolling in over the interwebs from the Beltway, the great capital of our United Nation.
It's the United States? United Nation?
Well, it's a United Nation.
I guess
it's
it is.
our nation, brother. From Washington, D.C. I want to introduce to you tech writer, blogger from rightswitch.com, Jimmy Goucher. Ladies and gentlemen, give Jimmy Goucher a little hand of appreciation. Jimmy, thank you so much for coming in and being with us today. We know it's your time is very valuable. You're raising two sons, and you got your time split. You're a busy man. I haven't known you very long, but the little bit of time I've known you, you've been very inspirational to me personally, and knowing your story and getting to know more about you has been a real treat and blessing to me, and I want you to know that. But and also, ladies and gentlemen, you can read Jimmy's blogs and the things on his mind about our industry at rightswitch.com. But our first question, do you live on the inside or the outside of the belt?
On the outside of the belt.
The outside of the belt. So you're in Maryland.
Yes, in Maryland.
No, fantastic.
Only just right down the road from DC.
Oh, wow. So is it hard to ignore the politics? Is just everything politics there?
You know, you would think it is, but really in the circle that I'm in, politics are a really small part.
Oh, wow.
Politics, they definitely have their place, and you can definitely walk into the wrong place and everyone's wearing suit and ties, and honestly, I have no idea what they're talking about. But there's also there's a lot of building going on, so there's a lot of blue class to hang out with. There's a lot of houses of worship around.
Wow.
A lot of stuff happening with that. You know, some of big artists come and do free shows in parks in DC. I know a few Christian rap artists just came and did a big show in Silver Spring not long ago, all free. And so as far as things to do that are involved with churches and groups of church tech people, there's a lot going on.
Wow, I think that's not the first thing that pops to everyone's mind when you think of Washington. So word up to you for exposing us to some better knowledge and helps maybe shape our opinion of the nation's capital and maybe some of the negative vibes and feelings that we have because we don't live there. But that is great to know that there is a spiritual aspect that's going on in our nation's capital. Well, Jimmy, you do a lot of tech writing, and I think the technical position that you have is you're self-employed as far as how you earn a living, but that's because you're a freelance tech writer. And tell us a little bit about where we can read your material and how to get a hold of it.
Well, most of it, you have to go on my website to get it. I posted a few things or at least one story on your
What's your
website on
website?
Lab 440. Um, but a lot of what I write is not, or what I've written so far, is not for public consumption.
Okay.
I've written some things for new tech, and I've got something coming up for them real soon, but it's not out yet. And I've written some little things that are kind of behind the scenes that
And
are kind of hard to get into.
tell us your website, Jimmy.
It's writeswitch.com, WRITESWITCH.com.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here and be a part. So one of the reasons we had Jimmy on today is of his knowledge base in NDI and what New Tech's innovative invention here with NDI. And that's how Jimmy and I got connected through a little video I did because I was so excited. I just whipped out the iPhone and did a latency test on NDI, and if you haven't seen that, I think that's available somewhere on the web, YouTube or something. And it's kind of interesting. It's one of those things that are concerning if you're trying to do long distance type runs, and you're trying to bring in a camera from more than 200 feet away, you know, and connect one switch to the next. So latency is a big concern, and so I did this test to show that there was negligible latency, and it was really hard to tell. We actually superimposed a clock on a clock, a SMPTE clock on a SMPTE clock to show, and I mean, you could barely discern. I mean, really barely discern the difference. Well, Jimmy got a hold of that video and through a little bit of his connections began to write about it, and New Tech has partnered and developed a relationship with Jimmy as well as us. And so in full disclosure, we are a New Tech house. We have lots of equipment, not just one, but we do. You're watching our broadcast right now via the construct of a TriCaster and some New Tech equipment as well. And we do here, James, well, you know, during our really busy months, about 9 to 10 months a year, I would say an average over 100 hours of broadcasting a month.
No exaggeration at all.
100, well, why would there be? 100 hours of broadcasting. That's not counting pre-production or post-production. That's just in the red light is on. So I say that to give a little bit of props to the consistency and the hard work that goes into our system, which is a TriCaster. And there's no perfect system. We've worked with a lot of systems out there, and none have never not failed. If you can get through that little double negative sentence, I'm trying to think, is there a better way to phrase that? They all fail at some point or another. And
there's no perfect computer.
We're not going to sit here and say that the TriCaster hasn't bailed out on us. But I can't really remember the TriCaster bailing on us for a technical problem in a really long time. So props to them for building a good piece of gear that is a workhorse, because we work it to death.
Yeah.
So that speaks some credibility to some of the innovative technology that they have brought down the pipe, and now gets us to on theme the NDI protocol. What is NDI? Many of you said, please stop talking in circles and rambling about it. Tell us what it is. Jimmy, you want to take a stab? Tell us a little bit about NDI. What is NDI?
NDI is an easy button for Tech Direct.
Wow.
That's what I think. That's what I look at it. You know, you were talking about the way we got hooked up was through the latency testing kit, and So I saw that, and like I was fascinated by it. My mind instantly went to when I was a tech director up the road here at a fairly large church. We had a baptismal. It was in a permanent spot, but it was off to the side of the stage, and we didn't really have any cameras that were set up that got a good shot of that baptismal. So every 2 or 3 months, when we had to do a baptism, that meant um, setting up a new camera, running cords clear across the bottom of the auditorium there to get them plugged in. It meant blocking off some chairs to make sure that we had a good shot. And, there was just a lot involved to get that one shot at the baptismal. So when I saw the latency and the NDI, I instantly thought, man, you mean I could just put my cell phone in a tripod and be done with it? And that's the whole thing. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and so that's when I got in touch with you. I was like, man, please explain to me how this works to me.
Yeah. All right. So James, in a sentence or two, give us your version of NDI.
Yeah, NDI is the protocol by which any device can talk to any other device in a two-way communication format.
All right. So now you're introducing a concept where we have multiple devices that talk to each other.
Right.
So therefore, NDI stands for Network Device Interface. Network Device Interface. So you're talking about multiple devices, but let's be a little more clear in our world. What are these devices? So let's list off. Jimmy, I think, just talked about a couple of devices in cameras. What other devices are there, James, that you can think of?
Other devices than just camera switches. I mean, good grief,
So
computers.
you got switches.
Yeah.
Computers,
I mean,
which is when you begin to, and we're going to do a couple demonstrations here of how this actually works, and show you some of the integration possibilities that. See, here's the deal, guys. You could look at this just as a wire that's carrying information, but what it's done for us is it has transformed the way we creatively think about how we produce and what we can do. So we talk about these devices. Yes, really, we're in the broadcast industry, so we're talking about cameras. But think of this. Think that your laptop, what is on your laptop desktop, is now a camera, not like a web camera, but it is a device. The laptop is a device that is now being turned into a camera that the switch sees so that it displays whatever is on there. Well, that doesn't seem to be like big earth-shattering news in that, you can remote desktop in and so for the nerds and the geeks and the real techies out there, we know we can network computers. That's just a simple network infrastructure, right?
Right.
But we're talking about turning these into viable 1080, even 4K video screens. So now your computer desktop is not just something that is static that you can log into to see or remotely work, but now it is an actual video device. So, James, you can take your computer on an NDI network and bring in, if I launch VLC as a player and play a video, you can now watch that video just like it was native on your computer, except it's just streaming the video. It's not actually capturing the data, running the data through, and then showing it on your VLC player. It's just, you've got a monitor now. And you can turn your desktop into, it's called Scan Converter, and now you can turn it into a full-fledged video scan that anybody can tap into. So there's no real maximum limitations that say how much can be on your network. It really depends on your bandwidth. So let's get in a little bit. Let's technically speak about NDI, right?
Do it.
Give us a practical application. We're gonna roll through these, but I think if we take a strategy here, and then we'll be able to show it. But what is a practical application, James, for a use of NDI?
Right. So using the computer, let's use that as an example. So you can have a video monitor viewing any source on your network, any camera, an output from a switcher, any other computer that is sending an NDI signal like VLC, for instance. Let's take a church, for instance. You can put a computer backstage or the side of the stage. Let's say you're doing a play,
Or
and they
like
need to
a
see.
play or a concert.
Yeah, you got a play, concert, a big production, Easter, Christmas, and your cast and crew need to be able to see what's happening. They can do that now. Just set up a computer. Video monitor is a free tool, and you can see any of those cameras. So they can reference, okay, they're at this part. We need to be ready for this. And they can choose any camera they need to fit their needs. And so I think that's going to be really, really nice, especially churches that are larger. They have a lot of different entrances and exits for these kind of productions or concerts. Very efficient.
Right. Jimmy, the bearded one, Goucher, do you have a practical example that you can think of?
Yeah, going along the same line that James was talking about. In the churches, a lot of times, if you have parents that have young children, maybe you have a nursery off the side. Some churches right now, they have a monitor there you can watch, but you can take the closed circuit TV out of the mix.
Oh,
you could use any room.
Wow, you just kind of hit on a golden point there, and talking about closed circuit. That's the old school way of distributing video. I'm gonna play on that right there. I'm gonna make a bold statement.
Okay.
NDI is going to eliminate closed circuit television as an industry.
Wow.
It is.
That's a pretty big statement there, John. You're eliminating an industry.
Right. And well, it's a rethinking, it's a re-innovation of it. You're going to do the same thing. So not really eliminating the industry per se, but maybe the way we think about how it's used. Closed circuit TV, you had to run its own proprietary wires, where now NDI, so this is a good way to think about it. If you have not been a part of NDI, you don't know. See, it's easy for us to get on here and talk about it because we've used it. We use it every day, and it's really glued into our mind. But I'm trying to take myself back to the place where I didn't really understand it, and I saw the propaganda on it, and it's still just, even the videos were unclear. So I want to really speak clearly about it. And I think touching on this closed circuit network idea can maybe bring some clarity to it, because everyone is familiar with a closed circuit TV and how it works. But it's a one-way signal that goes from a hub and distributes video across a network, but it's one-way communication. So it's just delivering a signal to a display, a TV of sort. So this is now doing away with that idea in the fact that it's a cabling. It doesn't need a central hub.
Which that's a huge bit right there.
It really
so many
is.
things that you have to have a server, maintain it, power it, has to run all the time.
So now you have
this is device to device.
Turn your mind's eye and shift it over to real IT type infrastructure. So real networking infrastructure. Anywhere you have a Ethernet drop per se is now your cable. That's your cable line. So as long as you can tap into the network, you can now distribute video to be able to receive or deliver. So it's two-way. It's not just one way. It's two-way. And like Jimmy just said, let's take a house of worship practical example. You have on any given Sunday under one roof, per se, I say the whole church building, but and don't think megachurch, because this can benefit the smaller church as well, just as much, maybe even more, as it can the megachurch. But you have your main service happening in the main sanctuary. And then generally there's a children's church happening over in the children's area. And then you have the nursery, and there's several nurseries, usually one for infants and one for toddlers, and the age groups that just go on. Or even if there's a Sunday school idea. All these rooms now, if you have existing infrastructure that has a network drop to those rooms, all you need to do is connect your computer device, and with a free tool that's given to you that you can download from NewTek, that free tool will allow you to intercept or receive the signal that is on now your IT infrastructure. So a practical idea is the service is going on, and you want to be able to see. And I'm gonna get real technical here, so hopefully people can follow. But and I don't know if we have that graphic that kind of shows the list of things that are land based. But it would be good to put that up if we had it, and you could kind of see the different devices that can be connected. But you have a IT or a network infrastructure that is going to all your rooms in your house of worship, in your church. And your main service is broadcasting. And let's just say it's a 3-camera setup. Doesn't have to be sophisticated or elaborate. It's just a 3-camera setup that goes back to a small switch. It could be a kind of a virtual switch that's just computer software, and you're ingesting that through some type of converter, analog to digital converter. Well, in that switch, and we'll give you a list of programs that do this, but if that program is NDI compatible, which we're going to talk about in a minute, the companies that are, but if it's NDI compatible, now each one of those devices are plugged into that virtual switch. Now you can be in the nursery, just plug your computer into the net with a network cable, Cat 5, Cat 6 cable into the network drop in that room, and you can pull in the master program, or even better, what you might just want to see one camera. One camera, you like that angle and you don't want to see what's being produced through the program output. You could actually isolate that one camera and watch that camera. Or if it's graphics, if the pastor's using PowerPoint or ProPresenter, you could just bring in that feed and just look at the notes that are there. Or there are some more elaborate setups. Some of the larger churches are actually recording their children's church. Well, and they have a switch in the children's church. There's a switch and cameras in the main service, and now you're in a nursery. Let's just use the nursery because we were sticking with that. They could pull in the children's church feed. Or they could toggle back and forth, go from one feed to the next, just to see what was going on. Or better yet, what if the pastor wanted to speak to that children's church, and they were going to have a program time that was they were all on the same clock, and at 10:35, the pastor is going to speak a message from the sanctuary, from the main service auditorium. And now they can bring in the pastor to the screens in children's church. He can speak a specific message to the children in children's church. I mean, there's so many. I see. I'm beginning to get into creative ideas. this expands your creativity and how you distribute. We're talking about the house of worship, and that question that Jimmy answered was specifically, how does NDI practically work in the house of worship? Well, he gave you a great example. I just elaborated on it a little more. But like we said, there's no perfect system.
Yeah.
And I want to jump into real quick, and I know we have a graphic on this, the pros and cons. The pros and cons of NDI.
Yeah.
Let me hit one pro.
Yeah.
We already talked about the way, what technology it was. It's actually a very inexpensive technology.
Right.
You don't have to have a lot of components, and most of IT technology is already there. So
Right.
you can use an existing infrastructure for very little cost. You can implement NDI.
Yeah, very easy to get started.
Yeah, and there's some free tools out there to
Right.
get started with. So that will help you begin to discover the idea, the technology, and how you can use it. And then as you advance, you'll see how, now you need other components to make it even better and greater.
Right. Now, one of the things I like, John, about NDI is it's an open development, so it's not proprietary to a single company, and people have to license. It's royalty free, and a lot of companies have, even the less than 2 years since NDI has been available to program with Nutek's SDK, companies are using it. And because it's open, a lot of people are adopting it because they don't have to develop it themselves. They don't have to maintain it. It's open. And that is huge. That's a great point, James.
Jimmy, I know that you and I had talked a little bit in research, and you were telling me about some companies that had adopted this. Do you have a list of companies? And can you tell us who all in our industry is adopting this?
Well, there's a lot of companies in our industry adopting it. ProPresenter is one.
ProPresenter.
Newtek, of course.
Did you say ProPresenter?
ProPresenter, absolutely.
I think there are more ProPresenter users than there are people on the planet.
Every church that I've been to,
yeah,
and then the tech booth uses ProPresenter.
Yeah, I mean, we used to use Media Shout, but everybody else was using ProPresenter, and we were like, well, I guess we got to get on the train. And so you mean, what is that? Renewed Vision? Is that who
that's
carries
the company? Yeah,
ProPresenter. Well, that's very interesting that a major player in the house of worship industry, like ProPresenter, is now carrying the NDI. Explain how that works, though.
Yeah, so they have something called the SDI module. Those of you who use modules, you're pretty familiar with it. But and the idea is you have to put in like a card in your computer with SDI, and now they have it so you get the module. If you already have the module, there's no fee at all. But you get the module. It's a software pack, and what it does, it takes your out or your program, IMAG, whatever you want to call it, and you can take that and put that on the network available as a source. So you go to your switcher. Again, once it's on the network, it can go to, the main thing is a switcher would be the most common one. But again, any computer with video monitor, we've discussed a lot of different uses for ProPresenter, maybe a stage display if you can get a network connection there. All of these can now take the program feed from ProPresenter and just using, it's funny because it is called the SDI module, and it does use NDI, but just know that SDI module has the NDI capabilities, and we'll have the link in the show notes if you'd like to see what Renewed Vision put out. They put out a full, I think it's maybe 4-page PDF, or if you print out the web page, it'd be 4 pages. It's pretty short, and they go through, they show you just go here and it enables, and it's pretty simple.
Got it. So Jimmy, give us some other companies that are out there that have already integrated NDI to their existing technology.
So live stream, Blizzard, Styron Higo, vMix, Wowza, Promax Systems, Brainstorm Multimedia, QuickLink, StreamStar. There's a huge list of people doing this, and some of them are live stream software developers. some of them just, they all do different things, but they're all broadcast-based companies right now that are using all
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when I saw the list that you had sent over, it was I was shocked. I mean,
Yeah.
when you see players like Ross. Ross is a direct competitor to
Yeah.
NewTek. I mean, direct. They do a lot of other things that NewTek doesn't do, but
Right.
they also are in the same space with the switching, and they have a new product out as well. And I talked to Ross at NAB, and they were excited about adopting and putting that NDI technology into integrating that into all of their
Yeah,
systems.
and they even discussed it. It was so significant, John. It was in their keynote that they did, their big keynote they have on there. We are integrating, and they have a whole section SDI and versus IP, and they said, look, we're going to do both.
Yeah, Ross is a great company. They make great product, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are Ross users. Well, NDI is going to affect you, and it's going to make your world better. This is, I think you mentioned in one of the pros, but it's open source, but it's royalty free.
Yeah.
So
that's huge. That's so big.
It really has a driving effect on other companies to pick up on this technology. And I'm looking at the list. I mean, Chiron. Wow. They're a big CGI player.
Between Chiron and Viz, I mean, those are the two big. I mean, that any sports broadcast you've seen, World Series, Super Bowl, they're using one of those two. It just depends what network, and both of those have adopted NDI in their applications.
A couple other pros that we had mentioned was the ability to two-way communicate.
That might be the biggest pro of all, is the two-way communication. It's not one way. It's up there.
It's hard to isolate it down, but it's man, that is huge. No central server. We mentioned it earlier, but there's no hub necessarily that
just
you
device
need.
to device.
Yeah, it's a peer-to-peer kind of understanding.
Yeah.
Here's a few cons.
Okay.
I'm not just going to list the pros, but here's a few cons. If you don't have an existing infrastructure, then you may, you're going to run into some costs because there is a minimum standard. There's no maximum, I guess, that you can put on it that we found yet. But you need to have at least a gigabit infrastructure.
Yeah, at least.
So bare minimum, you need to have a 1 gig switch in your system that can route and move information very rapidly. So 1 gig is the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
Well, you could get 1 gig switches. I'd be interested to see if there are certified switches on NewTek's list. I haven't seen that yet.
I haven't seen that either. But a gigabit switch is common. It's not like a rare thing you have to go through.
Yeah, it used to be. 2 years ago, it was hard to get your hands on. But now you can go to Best Buy and Office Depot and those kind of places and buy a gigabit switch.
Yeah.
But I think the better that switch is, the more reliable, and you're going to get those enterprise arguments that you might want to invest into an enterprise type switch that provides those speeds. Obviously, a 10 gig switch is going to give you a lot better performance.
That would be preferred, I'd say.
And we can talk about that in a little bit. Why you would move up there. But I would say, if you don't have infrastructure, it's going to cost, but it's going to cost no matter what kind of, anytime you're building a distribution infrastructure, it's going to cost you. Maybe it could move up to a pro in the fact that it might not cost you that much because of the no central server or hub idea. It is a little bit difficult to get running. To get up and running, there is a learning curve. So it's not like you just go plug and play. You do have to read. I think the techies that are in with us that are listening are not going to have a hard time.
Right.
But they're even the DIYers, they're not going to have a terrible time getting into it. It's just a little time consuming.
Yeah.
It's not quite as easy like an Apple type concept where you just plug and then it works.
Right.
Not quite that easy. But the knowledge base of how to work from the start is actually increasing.
And one of the benefits too is if you do put in the time to learn, you're learning networks, which are very good to know in general. You're not learning a proprietary system from a company that's going to stop developing this in 5 years, right? You're
Right.
learning how networking works. This is a huge benefit. So if you are going, I don't know networking, now's a great chance to start learning and start getting these skills because they're useful beyond simply NDI.
That's right. And well, here's one that we put on the cons list, but it depends on how you look at it.
Okay.
It doesn't work great over Wi-Fi. We're going to do a Wi-Fi test for you live and in person, hopefully. And you're going to see it doesn't work quite as smooth as it does when it's on a wire. So we put it doesn't work that great in a Wi-Fi situation.
Right.
But the fact that it works at all on Wi-Fi,
It's pretty amazing.
I think that still blows my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're thinking you're sending that level of video. So I can take my iPhone, this iPhone,
The cassette player?
the cassette. It's not a player, it's a cassette.
Or cassette, yeah.
He's
player.
making fun of my case. The fact that you can take this little device and there's a camera in it and it doesn't have any way to hook up with a wire, so you have to hook up via the Wi-Fi.
Right.
And you can broadcast a very, very good image. It right now, the frame rating is not as dependable, so you'll see a little stutter here and there. But when it is locked into a really good Wi-Fi, it actually responds pretty well. So I struggle to put that on the cons because it does work over Wi-Fi. It's just not great.
Right.
The other thing is, though, they are working on it.
Mm-hmm.
We know. We've talked to New Tech, and they are working on making that better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, I know one of the big ones for me was getting started. Like you said, over this last Christmas break, I was going through and reading, and I updated one of our TriCasters to Advanced Edition, and it was a little tough going through the documentation for NDI because it's so new and it's so fast. You're looking for, like, say you want to Google something. Well, there haven't been that. You might be the first one encountering that issue.
Yeah.
And so it's maybe the forums. No one's actually posted on a forum somewhere.
Yet
So
another reason why
this
we're
is-
doing the show dedicated to NDI is because of that very
and
point.
we're looking for, so if you do have a question, I would encourage you to join our Facebook group, Lab 440, facebook.com/groups/Lab 440, and join it and ask questions there.
Start
so
that
we
one
can-
again. I got confused.
Facebook.com/groups/Lab 440.
Oh, okay.
And so you go on there, post your question. We'd love to hear them.
Or
we're-
look for Digital Media Labs. I
Yeah.
think you can search
Go
for
on,
Digital
yeah, you can
Media
go
Labs.
lab440.com. There's a link on there too. But this is an opportunity for those of us who are using NDI to network and again learn this technology together. So the documentation, I wish there was more, but any product that there is out there is some, especially from New Tech. They have documentations, but whatever you get out of that manual, you have to contact support after that. So I wish there was a little more.
And
but
we put that on our wish
little,
list. Yeah.
A little bit nitpicky, but that is something to be aware of. It is
Okay.
a little low.
So the next con, but it is a big wish, and I've talked to them already about this, is expanding from local area network capacity to wide area network. So in essence, put it on, give us the ability to get this distributed through virtual private networks over a wide area network.
Mm-hmm.
So basically peer-to-peer. I want to be able to do this with Jimmy sitting there in Washington, D.C. I want him to be able to grab my NDI infrastructure. That cannot be achieved. Now, I know that's a big wish because the internet is a very complicated thing. Although the speeds are there to do it, it's because of the routing infrastructure.
Right.
It just makes it difficult. But we were assured that this was on a high priority list for New Tech to discover a way to get this done. This will take NDI from being just a game changer to now New Tech owning the world. New Tech will own the world. They will own Microsoft. They will own Apple if they can figure this one out,
Yeah.
because it's such a big deal. And I've heard some ideas of how it's going to be done, but ladies and gentlemen, if you can pick up, you're in Alabama and I'm in Alaska, and we're in the same church network
Right.
or affiliation, and you want to hear my pastor's sermon, or we want to connect some way, and you're able to pick up my NDI feed in Alaska from Alabama.
Right. Imagine one church bringing in another church's.
Well,
main
this
program
actually
feed.
came out of
that'd
a practical need that we personally have
Right.
as an organization here at SAGU, and that is we have missionaries in almost every country in the world,
Right.
and every time zone for sure. There's a saying that says here, the sun doesn't set on a lion. The lion's a mascot here, and the sun never sets on a lion, and that's because we have missionaries and ministers in or teachers in every time zone in the world, and we would like to bring them in, not just through Skype, but through video production, do more elaborate production that would bring us all connected together.
Imagine them being able to bring in something we're doing
Exactly.
there. I mean,
exactly.
it'd be awesome.
What if they could bring our high def feed in right now and translate it into Mandarin? So we had a Chinese teacher there that wanted to teach this, and they were going to bring in our show, but they needed to translate it, but they need the show. So they could just bring it in through high fidelity, the high definition 1080 stream that we have going out, and they can grab that and the audio in high fidelity, but yet translate it on their end. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We could talk about that for a long time, but that was on my cons list, and I think they're working on it. Like I said, they will own the world once they figure that part out. But nonetheless, that's not a buzzkill at all.
No, that's not a reason not to use NDI right now.
Not at all.
We're just giving you some of the downsides.
I struggle even saying it's a downside.
Yeah.
I struggle to put it in the cons list. It's more in the wish list.
Yeah.
Put it that way. It's on the wish list. Let's talk a little bit about our practical use here, so it gives more idea. James, talk about we started a sports network here, and now we've been able to use that for a semester. Talk a little bit about the infrastructure, and I'm gonna set up another demo while you're talking, and you and Jimmy can maybe talk a little bit about this. And I'll be back shortly.
All right. So, Jimmy, feel free to chime in. So, I'm going to talk again briefly SAGU Sports Network. So that's something that we built to broadcast sports through the university, SAGU. And so we've done football, basketball, volleyball, soccer. We've even done a little bit of baseball and softball. And so when we're doing these video broadcasts, like we're going to use football, for instance. We have multiple cameras. We have a studio camera. We have commentators. We have a lot of moving elements. So when we first heard about NDI, Jimmy, we were going, what are some uses that we can use to better tell the story of this game, to tell the story of the players, the athletes, the coaches? And so what we did is we've used some different tools that some of these are free. A lot of these are free, available on NDI's site. So one of them is, have you ever been watching a game and you see another game that's happening at the same time? It's pretty cool, and maybe more than just the score. Like they do a live look in. I know one of the big moment was Barry Bonds about to break Hank Aaron's record. Every broadcast in the world pretty much did 2 boxes, one with whatever they're doing, and here's Barry Bonds about to break that. So using that concept, what we did is we took a couple of computers, some laptops, the desktops, and we went to live feeds that other schools were broadcasting for free on YouTube, some other different websites, and we brought those in to TriCaster, which is our switcher. It's a new tech switcher. It's called TriCaster. And we did it pretty easily. So all we did, again, go to YouTube and a browser. We went full screen and we had Scan Converter on. So it was sending, and Scan Converter is a tool. What it does is it takes your screen or any application window and makes it available on the network as a source. So I put on Scan Converter and it comes into my TriCaster as a 1080 image. We had 1080 screens, and it comes into TriCaster, and I can go to that game live if I want to. But I decided to do it in a multi-box. So let's say there's a timeout, because if the game's going on, you don't want to show that. So we did it for basketball this spring, Jimmy. We did 8 or 9 days of broadcasting, 2 games each day. And so whenever there's a timeout, I would go, and to help tell the story, I would show another game that's going on same time, maybe a conference rival, and so I would demonstrate. This is the big thing. This is Sagu is second in the conference. Here's the first place team. It's a 1-point game. If Sagu wins and they lose, we're tied now at the top of the conference. So it creates a better story. Right. Yeah. So we're showing their game, and so we're and sometimes the feeds they do break out, but at least you get to see the game, you get to see the score. It's better than just talking about it. So it gave us a whole new avenue and a whole new angle to tell the story. Also, we were using NDI to send our graphics to our main switcher. So we were using live text, like I mentioned. We use some NewTek gear. So NewTek's live text sends the signal RGBA, including the alpha channel, to TriCaster. Now, here was the nice thing about NDI. So NewTek had some technology that was similar to NDI, but nowhere near as powerful. It was one way, and it was kind of buggy. It was called AirSend, and so I was able to go my live text for my live graphics that I'd show during a sports game, say maybe a lower third, a score update. Our scoreboards actually run through live text, and now that all gets run through NDI. And it's been much more stable. Those computers run a lot better, so we're very happy that we can send those graphics now via NDI instead of AirSend, again through the network. We've had a couple of different uses, so maybe a commentator needs to know what graphic comes up. They can have a laptop with video monitor, and they can just see the graphic, so they know, oh, that graphic's coming up, I better be ready. Now it's time to talk about the standings, and then we put it on program, and so it's a neat way to kind of cue that up. Just some different uses there. Another nice one, Jimmy, is our replay system. It's a separate unit from our switcher, and previously what we did is that replay system would run SDI from there into our TriCaster, but we didn't have to do that anymore because of NDI. The 3-play got NDI enabled, so the output of the 3-play gave us an NDI source into TriCaster. So I didn't even use SDI to go from my TriCaster or from my 3-play or my replay unit to my switcher. It was all done through the network, and it opens up 1 or 2 SDI sources, depending how you use replay systems, into my switcher, which lets me have more cameras, SDI-enabled cameras into there. So some really nice features there. NDI output does, and there's a nice thing too, the frame accuracy. I can't get over this enough, Jimmy, is it's accurate and it's very low latency. And one of the big issues or big uses we had a game that ended where you're a basketball fan, right? From being, if I recall correctly. So at the end of a game when you've got that last second shot, and you're trying to see, did it come off the hand, right? So we had that happen in one of our games. It was as close as possible. The ball's moving off the hand, and you could see in the shot had the shot clock and the scoreboard. And it's a big moment. This is for the game, and we actually, using our 3-play, we were able to roll it back frame by frame into our TriCaster. It was perfect, buttery smooth. No one noticed, and you would never even think that's running across a network to our switcher, but it was, and it worked great. And that was key, because for replays, you have to be able to be accurate. You can't be jittering and jumping back and forth. You won't tell as good of a story, and the fans are, it's not a great broadcast to watch. So it was very nice having NDI through the network running there. Now, that's something we're looking to do, but one of the tools also is Telestrator with NDI. Now, Telestrator, think of a Surface Pro, and you can have Telestrator. One of the cool things is you can use that 3-play, and you can actually mark up, like, this is the play right here, and bring that in your TriCaster all through the network. Just from the Telestrator, bring in camera 1. All right, there's camera 1, and I'm going to show this right here. And you can show that really, really cool applications in the sports world for NDI. Now, let's cover the Perimeter Institute. It's a educational institute that was recently featured by NewTek, Jimmy, and they had some standard definition gear that they were using. They were doing 100 hours of video a week, or a month, I'm sorry. That'd be a lot in a week, but in a month. And they're doing lectures, scientific lectures. They have to show the board for, showing diagrams and whatnot. And they recently upgraded to 4 TriCasters, 4 Panasonic PTZ cameras in 8 different rooms. So, but here's the thing. They used NDI for all of it. So any of those 4 TriCasters in their master control room can bring in any of those 32 Panasonic PTZ cameras. So they can do multiple ones at the same time, 4 if you're doing, let's say you're streaming it, right? But they can also use ISO recording to record others and edit later. Rarely do you have more than 4 at the same time, even at an institution like that. But if you did, you still have some tools to record and not lose any of it. So really cool application there. I love that idea of classrooms having NDI-enabled cameras, because let's just say, for instance, you have a conference, you have a group, a think tank that comes through, and you want to be able to broadcast it. Well, with a couple of NDI-enabled switchers and NDI-enabled cameras, right now PTZ is probably going to be the quickest to get on the NDI bandwagon, just because it's already network idea. You could do some very, very powerful things. So now I know John's setting up a demo. It's a really cool demo. It's going to use something called NDI camera through a phone. It's something NewTek's developed. It's available for iOS and Android. And what that does is it takes the camera on your phone and it makes it a source on the NDI network. So if you have, again, be this phone, it uses the built-in functionality, and then it shows you some different controls on there. I think John will go into that. But while we're waiting for him, Jimmy, go ahead and give me some applications for NDI. I know one of the interesting ones, we brought up a few already, like translators. We've brought in, hang on a second before we go to that. I'm seeing John now, so let's go ahead and see what John's got going on.
Hey, James, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, John.
All right, fantastic. So what we got going on is I came down to, in our facility, we have a lot of rooms. I'm in one of the edit suites, and I'm using the camera on my iPhone to connect wirelessly to the NDI infrastructure. So we talked about it a little earlier, in that it's not the absolute best option, but so my frame rate might be a little bit out. I think you should be hearing my audio pretty well, but so I came over here to show you. So we're in an edit suite, and this is just a computer on the network. It's just a regular computer, and my cameraman will show you. So you see up there we have Twit Live actually playing, and then this is just the desktop to the computer. Well, one of the free tools that NewTek offers is a NDI monitoring system client that you just fire up, and anything that is on the NDI network, you will be able to pull in. So let's just fire it up right there. I just clicked on it, and now it's going to go and start discovering, hopefully, all of the NDI cameras or switchers or computers that are existing on the network. It takes just a few seconds to actually bring them all in, and then you should be able to right-click on it, and you'll see here are all the things that you can actually access. So let me see, there's our other computer in the master control room. Let's see if, yep. Yeah, and so you're hearing my audio actually come through. I don't know if you can hear it, but we can hear the audio coming through from master control. Let's see, let's find another one. I could actually bring my own phone in. I could bring,
there's Jimmy.
I could bring in, see, there's Jimmy. I could bring in the TriCaster. Let's see if we can connect to, see, there's the studio camera and James, And through his monitoring, he's bringing in through the NDI, he can actually see us. So he's probably bringing in the program feed. But this is just the studio camera. This is just the studio camera that is showing only there. So hopefully you're seeing me and I'm seeing James, but I'm on program. So James can now dial in through his monitor the program feed or anything that's on there. So and we have a building across campus that is tied into the network as well. So way on the other side of the campus, we can bring in those cameras and take a peek at what's going on. So this is called the NDI Video Monitor. It's a free part of the NDI tools. It's free to download, and you can start working with it on your system. We can also make this computer live, and it's called the NDI Scan Converter. So we go down to our NDI tools, and so you're getting a real look at how it works. NDI Scan Converter. So we're going to fire up the Scan Converter, and we're going to broadcast to the network Tech News Today and this desktop. And the way you do that is you right click and you make sure that the desktop 1 and desktop 2 right here are checked. If I uncheck it, it takes it off the network. If I keep them checked, it actually puts them on the network. So now anybody can pull in on these displays because I'm sending them out as though they were cameras. All right, hopefully that translated the idea for you to be able to understand how the technology actually works. So back to you, James. I'm gonna go find another venue to show you another application. Talk about something else till I get ready on that.
All right. I can do that. All right, so one of the cool uses, Jimmy, I was thinking of for this, and something that John and I will probably begin using very shortly, is that video monitor that he's using where he's able to right-click and bring in a source. Now, again, it's a source, so it could be a camera, like I said, it could be a screen, but they're just sources, and you're bringing them in. One of them is you can use plugins. So a big one is Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, I use Adobe Creative Cloud every day to edit a video, photos, making graphics, and one of the cool things would be to be able to show John, hey, what do you think of this video? Do you approve of this video? Does it look good? What do you think? And remember, audio also sends over NDI. So through Creative Cloud, I can send him a video and say, hey, what do you think about it? So let's see if John can demo that now.
You can simply go over here to this computer, and if my cameraman will sit down right here, we'll take a look at a couple of the tools. I can bring up the monitor again, and let's see, let's go find the monitor, new tech tools, video monitor, and there it is. You see it in all its glory. I'm gonna bring it down here to this window, and there's another feature that like I could in the other room. I'll just do it real quick. We could take a peek. There's James again. James is now on my monitor. But so here's a real application that we can use. Part of the NDI tools, another free tool is a converter that takes any Adobe product like Premiere, After Effects. Think of those products, anything on the Adobe Creative Cloud, and we can now create a program feed from whatever computer and put that on the network. So we did that, and if you can look here, I am going to click on, there's a computer on our network that is running Adobe Premiere. And so if my guy's over editing, and you can see I'm in a recording studio here, and in the recording studio, we do all the remixes. So I'll go through a little technical step of what we do. We record our chapel services. Well, we remix that audio for broadcast, but we will actually bring the audio over here after in post and redo it maybe for iTunes or for some other distribution point, or maybe some of the cutaways that we do. And we do this thing called Sagu Chapel, and it's a little 60-second preview of what happened the week in chapels, because they do chapels every day here. And we'll remix some of the featured songs. So my guys over in his post edit suite or in master control, they're editing down video, and I'm remixing the audio over here. But I'm wondering, okay, where are they going to bring me into this clip? I don't want to edit the whole. I don't want to spend many hours editing the whole service part of the music. I just want to do what he is going to edit in. So I say, show me what you're going to edit in. So I can take a look at his program feed from the Adobe Premiere product. We had it all. So as you can see, it's running there. He is streaming the full raster video to me through the NDI tool. Now I can see his edit. Now, how that helps me is now I can kind of see the place at where, so now I'm editing in multi-channel, 57 tracks of all the different audio, and I can, and now you can hear the pre-mix to what I'm going to do. And now you can see. So now I can kind of know what's going on with his edit, and it helps me be more efficient with my time editing the audio, the multi-channel audio down. And so it's really quick. I don't have to get up, run over across campus or wherever that edit suite is that they're working in to go look at it. They don't have to take time to render down a file just so they can show me. I can just take a peek in a matter of a second at what that looks like, and now I'm back to work. So hopefully you can see and understand the power of the NDI infrastructure that will make your life. This is just one piece of that tool. And there, if you'll go onto the New Tech website and look at the NDI tools, you'll see that they're free. Those tools, you can start working for you now. So you can start building your NDI infrastructure without any investment right now. So James, that's it. I'm gonna come back to the studio in a minute. You can take over from there.
All right. Thank you, John. All right. So, Jimmy, let's talk briefly about some applications for the houses of worship. We talked a lot about NDI. We've shown some demos of what you can do. We talked a little bit, I was bringing in earlier before we did the demo, the translators in a separate room with those, so you don't have to have the earbuds. I know some churches, they do that. They broadcast like a frequency, and then you have to have the receiver. You can just be in a separate room, and they can even ask questions back if maybe they don't understand something. There's some different really neat applications. Obviously, ProPresenter, we mentioned, having that, you no longer have to run, convert to SDI and then run a coax back to a switch. What are some other applications you see for the house of worship space?
Another one is, for example, there's a church around here where the pastor crams a lot of single message, and the man really got some knowledge. But what happens is sometimes pieces of the sermon, the congregation grasps the all. So what he's decided to do is once a week he wants to go on Facebook Live, have questions, and he can go into greater detail. And so, right now there are cameras into his office because the cameras on his computer or his iPhone is just not good enough quality. So they're bringing cameras in his office, and that's how they're doing it. So NDI would allow him to actually, set up like uh, set his phone up actually and
Yeah.
cut off where it's down, wants to broadcast that way.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that I thought of, I think you touched on it earlier, John, is if let's say you want, I'll give you this example because it's a personal one. The church I was in, they'd bring in the little kids up on stage on Mother's Day to sing a couple songs and say
Right.
Happy Mother's Day.
Right.
And now with NDI, instead of the logistics of moving all those kids and get them back to the room without losing any of them, you can just put a camera there and say, we're going live to our children's church or whatever you call your kids' ministry.
Right.
And here it is. And they can go, Happy Mother's Day. And,
Yeah.
and the children's pastor can go, hey, everyone, we're so glad we love. And then you can cut, this church also did middle school. They could have cut right to the middle school room. Hey, we're here. I'm the middle school. Here are 6th to 8th graders, and we just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. And you're back in your service. No moving people around. Very simple. And again, it's options. NDI gives you options that you couldn't even think about having. So it's all, you can really be creative, John. There's a creativity in how you use NDI to maximize what you can do.
Well, I think that's my one big takeaway here is that I want to communicate to those that have not yet been a part of the NDI infrastructure. They've heard about it, but they don't really know. And this is until you do it. And this is why I emphasize, hey, go look at the free tools.
Mm-hmm.
Go get something involved into your system that has some kind of NDI infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can catch the bug.
Yeah.
Until then, you're only going to hear about our creativity with it.
Yeah.
But I assure you, this technology stimulates so many of those creative juices as to what you can do. And I mean, we could sit here and give, we've written down tons, I mean, just sheets full of ideas of what we can do with this technology. I mean, especially in the sports. I was away while you were talking about the sports, but I'm sure you hit on it. I mean,
You tell a different story.
Yeah, it's not just different. You now become you have the possibility of becoming a bleeding edge, a cutting edge creator that, and this is important. This is a big idea because we do a lot of philosophy here. We do some technical. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know how that bit came across. We took a little risk there because we knew we were going on the Wi-Fi to show you and show you a little bit of how it works in other rooms. And we probably could have set up a wired camera and made that more effective. And we will do clips of that later in the future. But we just wanted to kind of indulge ourselves in NDI and show you here are things that actually work. But in a philosophical idea, streaming, church broadcasting is becoming bigger than ever. Just broadcasting in general.
Right.
YouTubers. I know my son's, he's really big into YouTube, gaming YouTube. He's creating his own brand. And there are 14, 15, 16-year-old kids out there that have got this idea that they can now grab easily for virtually no money, grab the idea of broadcasting and put their creative spin on it and go make $1 million.
I can create content for others to watch. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Instead of just let me get a cable subscription and watch, I can make things for you to watch.
So if you're part of the old guard and you're not getting the sense of the cutting edge of where broadcasting is going, well, we need to introduce you to that idea because it's not only coming, it's here, and everybody's broadcasting now. And you're going to have to stay to be influential, you're going to have to stay, what is the word?
On the cutting edge? I mean,
fluent in modern technology. And This is the cutting, bleeding edge. NDI is the bleeding edge of the technology in broadcasting. And you just got to know that you got to just dive headfirst into it and figure it out. And it will begin to reveal, as you begin to swim in that pool, it will reveal to you how to be creative with it. And you're going to think of so many different things of how to tell your story and different approaches to telling stories. It's not just that your story is going to be different. You're going to have a different approach to a story.
Right. And which is why we call this the game changer in broadcasting.
Yeah,
it's not just a different camera. It's a game-changing technology.
That's right. Exactly. It's not just an advancement of
something that's
security.
existed.
The infrastructure has been there for years. But being able to do it at this level, the high capacity, the high bandwidth of transporting very dynamic, high definition video and audio.
And audio.
We didn't even talk, but it
Barely
carries
talked about it, but
your simple 125 megabit connection will carry up to 16 channels of audio, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's a 444. So those of you that can speak some geek in broadcasting
That's technically
language,
speaking.
yeah, we can get away with it here.
Yeah.
So a 1080p, 60p, 444 signal, 125 megabits per second. Just think of that.
That's a lot of information to
Just
send
think of that
at an instant.
Right. And that's kind of the bottom of the barrel, really. And when you think of minimally, it actually has the capacity to carry 4K with 16 channels of audio.
Yeah. And NewTek has already their TC1, their IP series switchers. They're marketing 4K, 60p, and
it's just ridiculous.
16 inputs just on SDI plus
might be
your network.
120p, 120p. I got to go look at the specs again. I know it's 60.
At least 60, which 4K 60p will get you.
That's ridiculous.
That's already.
I mean,
amazing
that's not, now we're talking about IP level TV broadcasting on YouTube, on Facebook. That's already caught up, and it's going to surpass the standard terrestrial understanding satellite communication of broadcasting. Now you're going to go to YouTube and get a better picture,
right?
A better quality. It's just what product are you going to do? Are you going to be able to use these tools to creatively think bigger and better? Really, that's what it's boiling down, and that's what why we want a dedicated episode to NDI, because we keep saying it's a game changer, but man, it's revolutionary.
Yeah.
Revolutionary. Kudos to NewTek and what they do. And I know a lot of these other companies are going to just take it, and they may even make it better. They may, because it is open source. We know, is it Sierra Labs? Sienna or Sierra Labs over in the UK are doing some fantastic work.
Yeah.
They may be the ones that beat everybody to the punch, developing this wide area network.
It's called NDI.cloud. If you want to just see where they're at in development, they've started it. They've started the discussion. They're networking with those who want that.
Yeah, they're not releasing a whole lot of information right now.
Not yet.
But maybe they're working with NewTek on this.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, when that happens, it's a whole different. The industry changes on the whole. So that's a look. A few other tools that did you talk about Telestrator at all?
I briefly covered that.
So if you go on the NewTek site and you look up NDI, you'll see the NDI tools. Those are free to you. Then you'll see NDI applications. Those cost very fair amount of dollars to buy, and
some
you can try
free
them.
versions. Some of them have free.
Well, it's not a free version; it's a demo version.
Yeah,
and no cost to try.
Yeah.
Which that's what we did with Jimmy today. And Jimmy, now that you've been sitting in front of your computer on Skype with us, we used a technology called NDI Transmit.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a part of the tools package, but it's a part of the application, NDI application package, which does, if we were to buy it, I can't remember, a couple $100,
Yeah,
$150?
$195.
$195. So less than $200, and we'll probably get it. But we downloaded the demo version, and we're using it in this episode. The last 2 episodes we used for Skype, we just Skype them, but this was
just using the webcam on the laptop.
Yeah,
so
they were looking at me, and they couldn't see really what was going on.
Right.
They just had to take my word for it, because the only thing they could see on their end was me and maybe the monitor behind me. Jimmy, can you see me through my webcam on my laptop?
I can.
No, you
I
can't.
Not through your laptop.
Right.
Into the studio camera.
That's right. And so I have a camera on, and it's not what he's seeing. So we fired up the NDI Transmit application, and now Jimmy is able to see our program feed. Not only is he able, because it's an NDI tool, not only is he able to see the program feed, but I can give him any feed that I have in my NDI infrastructure. Now, don't confuse this as him being able to grab he's not on my NDI infrastructure, because NDI does not support wide area networking, just local. But on my local network, I have a lot of things in my NDI infrastructure. I am now just sending that to him through Skype.
Right.
So now Skype is this NDI Transmit. The technical speak on it is it canceled my camera and it replaced it with my NDI network. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, Jimmy. You're looking at your computer through Skype connected to me. Verify, is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
That's true.
Now tell me what you see right now.
I'm looking at a studio shot.
You see James and I, the camera one, the studio camera shot, right? All right, I'm going to bring up something. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, and tell me, what do you see now?
Someone that I've never seen before in my life.
Is it a video?
It is a video.
It's what he's seeing is actually the secondary display of the computer I was at in the 4K editing lab or editing suite, and there was 2 displays. So there's 2 things on that NDI infrastructure. He's seeing the TWIT network.
Okay.
And
that Tech News Today.
So if you're listening or watching us on YouTube, you can't see what he's seeing, so we're putting him on the spot. You're just watching him, but he's telling you what he can see, and so we're doing this so that it's proof that I am now sending him anything on our infrastructure, our NDI infrastructure. And
one thing
tell me what you see now, Jimmy.
Now it's just switched back to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, one thing to note is the audio is still sending.
Actually, did it switch back to my camera, or are you seeing? Describe what you're seeing.
Studio camera. Studio camera.
Actually, is it just a picture? Is it a picture of the studio camera on another computer? Can you see what's behind that frame?
What I'm seeing behind you is another screen with me in it, and another screen.
Infinite regress. I did it. I kind of did that as a little trick. Sorry.
You have a whole live switcher right in front of you.
Yeah.
Right
So now I can actually show you my Creative Cloud 4K off of our 4K computer that we have a live Adobe Premiere editing session going on. So now you see the rendered. It's not even rendered. It's
still
just
in the timeline.
It's on the timeline. You're seeing what's on the timeline. It just looks like a program feed.
That is so cool.
And And here I'll
That's
just.
crazy, John. We have a
I know,
Premiere Pro
isn't that
timeline
crazy?
that we're sending to someone who lives
That's insane,
1,000
dude.
miles away, and he can see that, and I
Yeah.
didn't have to render it.
Didn't have to render it.
Don't have
And
to create a
1,000. He's more
render.
like 1,500, 1,700.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to create a Dropbox link, send it to him. I mean, just through Skype, he can see that timeline.
It's the quality is beautiful.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy, man? And I'm floored. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
This is why I couldn't sleep for 2 days, guys, is because number one, we were doing a show about it, but this is my life.
Mm-hmm.
I get to come in and work with this and be creative, exercise both my left brain and my right brain.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I'm so blessed to be a part of building something like this, and it is just so much fun. And I'm just kind of playing around. I'm gonna bring you back to us, Jimmy.
Okay.
Just the camera.
Okay.
I won't send him program, but I'm gonna just
which
give
is
him
one of
just
the unique
camera.
things too, is you can control that. I can send him a single camera, it's the out program feed.
So he can't see the program feed. In case we switch to him, he wouldn't know it. I mean, as a full screen,
That's,
that
right.
could be a little scary.
So you guys can try out Transmit, NDI Transmit. That's what John's using with Skype here, and you can get a free download, free demo, and it will watermark it for Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, probably. Do you see the NewTek watermark?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's on
So
the
it
bottom
covers
of the
up a
screen.
little bit. It's
Yeah.
not like an obnoxious watermark. It's just on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Good job, NewTek.
Yeah.
Let's see. They have.
You want to talk about any the other tools that they
Well,
have?
yeah, they have the VLC plugin, which
Yeah.
is like the Adobe plugin. It
Yeah,
just
same thing.
turns it into a program out. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about the hacks that you could do, but I know some hackers that would have fun with that.
Yeah.
They actually have built a tool. It's called the Access Manager that will tell you a real-time analysis of what's going on in your NDI infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it helps you troubleshoot a little bit.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time to really dive into
No.
that, but that just tells you that NewTek is developing tools to be able to help you better understand what's going on in your NDI infrastructure. Let's see.
I mean, test
I showed you
patterns
Scan
and-
Converter and
yeah.
Video Monitor, Creative Cloud.
And Test Patterns just sends a signal and an
Yeah,
audio,
that's a
1K
great little
tone.
tool, actually.
Yeah, so you can test that across and see. And again, because it sends that 1K tone, if you hear a dropout, you've got maybe some troubleshooting you need to do. So some nice.
Got to
tools. They're
calibrate,
handy.
man.
Yeah.
Got to make it look right.
Again,
Here you want to talk about your cheat for Mac. So
So
James's middle name is Apple,
Uh,
and mine is Microsoft.
okay.
So, and he's nowhere near as cool as I am. He might be younger, but nowhere near as cool.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting to bed
Okay.
the myth.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and tell the story about how Apple or Macintosh was not included.
Right. Well, the short of it is all these NDI tools that we've talked about, all developed by NewTek. NewTek is very pro Windows, so the NDI tools they're going to take longer to get to Mac. Maybe not all of them even get to Mac, but a couple of the basic ones are there. So you mentioned Sienna. So Sienna started developing Video Monitor and Scan Converter, their versions of it. And they have a couple of them. They're on the Mac App Store now, and some of them are free, some are paid. Some of them are sending out SDI. But I'm using Video Monitor right now. On here, I can see the program feed on this Mac right here, and that's what I used when you were doing your demo. I could view it just on this monitor. It sends, and obviously I'm able to bring in the audio from those sources. And really nice, and all those things we talk about, Video Monitor and Scan Converter, two very powerful tools that are in the NDI tools pack from NewTek. Sienna has developed them, and it's in fact Sienna has worked so much with NewTek. NewTek has put the link to Sienna's apps on NewTek's website, and you can also get them on the Mac App Store. So different ways to do it. in my experience, I think the tools that are developed for Windows are better. I think this is like maybe in a little bit of a catch up. However, for this use right here, I mean, I have no latency. I can see, I mean, as I'm moving my hand, I mean, it's almost instant. And I mean, it's going to a camera, to a switch, and then I'm pulling it off the network. So some neat tools there. They have some like webcam for NDI. So like the iSight camera on a Mac can be an NDI source that you can pull into a switch,
Right.
which is neat. But you know, that's a $40 app. So you know, you have to decide what do you want. So they have they have the apps, and we will have all of the links in the show notes if you want to download. But for the most part, I'd say it's not on pace with Windows, but it's there and it's catching up.
And you're using it right now, so
Yeah.
we know it works.
Yeah.
And did you say that was a free app?
Yeah, so
Okay.
a lot of them are free, but like take for instance Scan Converter, it's free. It just sends your desktop. But if you want to send just a part of a screen or just an
right.
application, there's a upgrade fee. So that's what I'm saying. There's some.
Well, you can get at least into
Downsides.
it,
Yeah,
and that's
you
a
can.
good thing because we were a little concerned that Apple was getting left out of the game, and
Yeah.
although they got such a small share of the marketplace in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
They still need to be included because a lot of churches use Apple
A lot of
products.
houses worship.
We have a very balanced mix of what we do here.
Mm-hmm.
We like to have a dualistic approach, and we just like computers. We joke. I'm the Windows guy. He's the Mac guy, but and that's true, but in a sense. But really, we learn both platforms and advocate for the expansion of both platforms. I don't like to see great developments like this that are leaving out platforms. Linux needs to be included. They are, and they are not left out of the table. So now we got all the major players making products and tools so that everyone, no matter what your bias is, no matter how wrong you are. Just kidding. JK. All right. Jimmy, man, thank you so much for being a part of this NDI special broadcast. I look forward to our relationship getting bigger and better. And ladies and gentlemen, check out rightswitch.com. Jimmy's an up-and-comer. He's got a good mind for this. More than that, he's got a big passion, just like you. And I think one thing about the kingdom of God is we understand being dedicated to one another and lifting one another up. And that's what we want to do. We want to increase. Iron sharpens iron. We will all want to increase and be more excellent at what we do. And I think the best approach to getting there is using one another to become sharper and building each other up in the faith, number one, but number two, in our talents and our God-given passions. And Jimmy, I don't believe you have a passion for this just because it's your it's just your desire. I believe that desire was put into you by your Creator. So, and we all have this in common. So, birds of a feather flock together. Now, let's just fly. Let's fly together. Let's do great things. And thank you, man, for taking time. And Jimmy's got a very special story. You guys need to be a part of that and get to know him and lift him up and push him up. Push him up. Thanks, man. We're gonna actually end it here. We've gone 33 minutes over our allotted time. James, I guess you won that bet. Yeah. I said, no, we could do it in an hour. And you said there's no way. So on behalf of James Lex and Jimmy Goucher, my name is John Cookman, and we are technically speaking. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great night. God bless.